let's do it. All right, today's the day. We're gonna be putting the motor back together in the Trailblazer, gonna be putting the cam in it. Really, the whole top end of the motor is going back together. We've been hard at work on the Cadillac trying to get it together, but we do need to take a break on that here real quick, and we've got to get these parts back on the Trailblazer because the Trailblazer also needs to be done, and I've got to schedule a dyno day where I can rent somebody's dyno for about a day so I can tune this thing. So I want to make sure I get everything together just in case there's something last minute that I need to get. I can allow time for that, and then we will jump back on this here. But don't you worry, we're making progress on that too. So as far as parts go for the Trailblazer, you guys probably saw in the last video a lot of this stuff. Anytime I do engine work, I try and like have everything kind of on display and laid out. That way I know I have everything and kind of do an inventory in case I need to get anything. But we've already gone and we've started cleaning some of the stuff that's gonna go back on the motor. So of course, timing cover, and we've got a new crank seal and a timing gasket to go with that. On the valve cover, so this is actually the valve cover we were running. And what I'm gonna do, because before to the catch can, I was venting the passenger side valve cover, as well as, I think I had the driver's side off of like the little like 3/8 vent. What I'm doing is I'm taking another passenger side valve cover off another motor I had, and we're going to be doing another 10AN fitting. Basically, this screws into the oil cap fitting. So I'm taking two passenger side valve covers and putting one on the driver's side. So yeah, one fitting will be on the front of the motor, and then on the driver's side, this one will be at the back, which I'm not a huge fan of. I like to try and keep these things towards the front because G-force usually pushes oil to the back of the motor. So I'm a little worried about maybe this driver's side pushing a little bit of oil in the catch can, but we'll see what happens. So I've got these cleaned up and they're ready to go. I got my Precision Racing Technologies built oil pump in, so we're good to go on that. And then the factory cylinder heads, we went ahead and we got them all cleaned up and ready to put the new springs and whole 9 yards in that. So anyway, so I'll show you what we got going on over here with the Trailblazer. So you guys may have seen last time, we got this thing down to essentially a short block. We pulled the cylinder heads off so that way we can put some new lifters in it. And now I'm at the point, like I said, I'm kind of getting everything cleaned up. So what I like to do is to prep for the new build here, take the old razor blade, and we just do a real quick razor blade rebuild, basically work on kind of getting all this stuff off. So we just kind of scrape away until that old head gasket material is gone. I'm not going to sit here and let you guys watch me scrape on these cylinder heads, but I went ahead, I've already done the passenger side, so you can kind of see how nice the razor blade rebuild kind of cleans the deck surface there. I did the same thing to the cylinder heads too. So let me go ahead, let me finish getting this deck cleaned up, and then we'll go ahead and we'll start putting some stuff together. And boom, she's rebuilt. So got the deck surface cleaned up on both sides. And then if you guys ever take the heads off, make sure you put some compressed air down in here, because if antifreeze gets in here and you try and tighten that bolt down, well, bad things happen. I know. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get the cam in now. We'll get the timing chain on, oil pump, and then we'll go ahead and we'll stick the oil pan on it. Oh yeah, here we go. Look at that. This is where the magic happens, right here. Oh yeah. Look at that thing. That's nice. All right, so at this point, we're going to go ahead, we're going to put some assembly lube on the cam journals, as well as we'll go ahead and all of the cam lobes. We'll just go ahead and spread a little lubrication on there. So is it weird if I make eye contact while I do this? All right, now we're going to reverse what we did. So I'm going to pull my transmission cooler back here so it's out of the way. We'll go ahead and we'll get this slid in. Nice and easy. All right. And then as we get right here to the end, I'm just going to take, again, 2 of my water pump bolts. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this in the rest of the way. Just like that. Yeah, buddy, there she is, boys. All right, next up, we'll go ahead and we'll put the cam retainer plate on. And we'll get this tightened down. All right, guys, so now that the cam retainer plate's bolted up, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get the cam gear on as well as the timing chain. So I've already actually got the crank up on top dead center. So the dot on the crank, the lower gear, that dot is straight up. And we are going to line that up with this right here. So we'll go ahead, and sometimes you gotta play with it just a little bit to get everything to line up. But we'll go ahead and we'll try and maybe hit this right off the bat. Let's see here. I think that might be it right there. Oh yeah, we in there. Perfect. All right, so with a little bit of blue Loctite on the cam bolts, you can see that dot right there, and then this dot right here lined up. And then just to double check it, we can spin this thing over real quick and just make sure everything's good. So let's see here. Should be right there. And then we'll double check again. Boom, look at that. Good to go. All right, guys, next up, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna install our Precision Racing Technologies built oil pump. Pretty trick piece here. Highly recommend it. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna put this on, making sure that all of our mating surfaces are clean on the pump body and the block. And then we'll go ahead and get this lined up on the crank. Let's see here, about right there. Beautiful. And then we'll go ahead and get this bolted up. She's torqued. And now let's go ahead and let's put the pickup tube back in here. Let's see here. Just like that. Beautiful. Next up is the pan. And I've got my handrails clean, and then I like to throw just a little bit of clear silicone right in here. Seems to be a little bit of a problem area on the LS motors with leaking where that rear timing cover goes. So we'll just kind of do the old dab and smear. Now let's go ahead and let's throw the pan up there. We're gonna get this stuck in. And just like that, we pretty much got everything underneath here buttoned up. So still need to put the exhaust back on, but we'll worry about that here in a little bit. But you guys can see the pan's back on. The plugs for the water jackets, I pulled those out to drain all the antifreeze before we pulled the heads. We got that stuff back in. And then over here, yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but we got the starter back in there. And then the headers are just bungee corded and kind of set back in place. That way we can go ahead and focus on the top end here. But other than that, down here, we're looking pretty good. All right, and before we get the heads taken apart to where we can go ahead and put the new springs in them, the new keepers, retainers, seals, and whatnot, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get the lifters dropped in the motor. So for lifters, we're gonna use these Johnson 210Rs, and we'll go ahead, we'll get these bad boys stuck in there, and these are pretty nice units. So now it's head time. So what we're going to be doing here on the cylinder heads, we're going to be taking out the old valve springs, the retainers, the keepers, the valve seals, getting rid of all that, and we'll be replacing them with this Brian Tooley kit right here. And these are going to be double valve springs. It's going to basically include everything we just mentioned. So what we need to do to start off with is we need to go ahead and we need to take these valve springs off. And to do that, we're just going to use this tool that I've had for a couple years now. It seems to work pretty good. So we'll go ahead, run this thing, and that'll allow us to take these keepers out. And then you can take a, which I'll probably end up doing, you can take a magnet to pull these little keepers out, because sometimes they can be a little bit of a pain. So we'll take the keepers out. Now, we'll loosen up this bolt here. And that will allow us to take the springs out. And then these are the factory valve seals. We'll get those popped out, and then we are going to be measuring spring height. We're not just going to throw the springs in here. We're actually going to do it right. So we're going to measure that spring height and get the spring shimmed. All right, y'all, and just like that, got the old stuff out, got all the new stuff in. So we've got dual valve springs, titanium retainers, keepers, and new valve seals, all part of that Brian Tooley kit. And while we were installing all this, we went ahead and set the installed height for the springs. So we are pretty much good to go. Now, again, we are going to be doing the cam only record, and by cam only, the definition of that is no cylinder head work, just cam only. So you can see these are bone stock cylinder heads. I mean, literally no work done to them. Same thing on the exhaust side. Down the road, we might be putting a set of LS3 heads on the Trailblazer, but in the meantime, we want to get that cam only record, so we're just going to keep rocking the 243s. But this cylinder head here is pretty much done, so now we're going to go ahead. We're going to get this cylinder head knocked out, and then after that, we are going to install the Trunnion Upgrade on the rockers. Well, look at this. Always a good sign when the table starts clearing off. Must be getting close. Moving on to the rockers. So what we've got here, this is the factory rocker arm. They do have a needle-bearing trunnion in them, which in the OEM application, they do great. Unfortunately, with the higher lift cams and the increased spring pressures, not quite up to the task. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a trunnion upgrade. And what we do here is we actually press out that factory needle bearing, and in its place, we're going to be putting in these bushings as well as this new cross shaft. So I wanted to walk you through how to install these, and the best way to do this is with a press, and we have a press here, but I'm actually going to show you a little bit trickier way to do it. All right, so if you have access to a drill press or you have a drill press in your shop, I actually prefer this method much more over like a big hydraulic press. It just seems like you got a little bit more control. There are smaller presses that actually do the exact same thing, but hey, we've got the drill press here. We might as well use it for this. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a 22mm socket. This is going to work perfect for what we're getting ready to do. And then this is just a piece of scrap 3/8 tubing that I am going to take, and I'm going to stick it right here in the press. And we're never going to use it as a drill press. We're literally just going to use it as a press. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to take the rocker body and we are going to press this trunnion out. So I'm going to take that 3/8 tubing and push right on this right here. So we're going to take our 22mm socket. We're going to put it right here, right on the body of that rocker. Stick it on a block of wood. And then we're going to line that 3/8 piece of tubing up right there on that cross shaft. Get everything kind of situated. And then literally just take the drill press, pull down, and just like that, all of these factory needle bearings that you kind of see here are going to go everywhere. Do not worry, we don't need those. Just toss them. And what you're left with is an empty body on this side, but part of that cage is still going to be stuck on this side. So what we're going to do, have that face side down, and we're just going to push it through one more time on this. So we're trying to get it from each side here. Oh, actually, did it on the first shot. So here we go. Now you have a completely empty body. Now we just need to do that 15 more times. Okay, so putting these things back together, pretty straightforward. We're going to put some assembly lube on each side of the rocker body, and then some assembly lube on the bushing as well. Set that right on the block of wood. Just take a flat socket, nice and wide, that's wider than this, so when it presses down, it sits flush. And literally, we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to take this drill press, and we're going to use it as a regular press. Push it down so it stops, and you see we're left with a nice flush bearing there. All right, so next up, cross shaft, assembly lubed up. We're going to drop it right down in there. And then now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our other bushing, and same thing, we're going to put some assembly lube on this, put it right there on top of the rocker body, and then I use, for the bottom, I'm just going to use a 3/4, and for the top, I'm going to use a 5/8. And doing it this way, this 5/8 is basically the same diameter as this top bushing. And we're just going to go ahead and push this down until it's nice and flush right there. So then what we're left with is a nice flush bearing on each side. And now we'll go ahead and we'll put the snap rings in it. So take some snap ring pliers and go ahead, and there's a groove on each side of that shaft. Go ahead and put your snap rings in. And then I don't have these rockers bolted down. They got to bolt the heads on first, but just for visual reference, I set them on here just so you guys can kind of see what a whole bank of these trunnions look like on your cylinder head. So guys, in the next video, we are going to be bolting the cylinder heads on. We got the front timing cover, the balancer, and then like the cool stuff. So the Mazir electric water pump, the fast intake, that Real Trick Motion Raceworks throttle body. So like a lot of cool stuff's going to be happening here in the next video, but wanted to get you up to speed as far as where we're at with the Trailblazer right now. I hope this was a good educational video for you guys in case you guys want to tackle something like this. But in the meantime, as always, guys, we greatly appreciate y'all, and we'll catch you on the next one.